Hi guys, let's talk about Frida Kahlo. So, Frida Kahlo is this symbol or icon that I've been seeing everywhere lately. I know it's such a random topic, but I really wanted to talk about that. She is literally everywhere, and she's now used as a representation of art, or maybe women in art, feminism, or maybe even authenticity. But what I know for sure is that now she's very present everywhere, on social media, used by brands, used as street art, used by other artists, used by young people to represent things. She's everywhere, and now seeing her all around me, I thought that I wanted to learn more about her to finally understand why she is so symbolized in our current times. And one of my favorite booktubers, Ariel Bisset, also had a Frida phase, and so she had this recommendation video about books to read by Frida Kahlo if you want to learn more about Frida Kahlo. And since I was looking for a recommendation for non-fiction November, I decided to pick up one of those books, which is here. And that book is this little beauty, Frida Kahlo, I Paint My Reality, by Christina Burrows. Now, I really enjoyed reading this book because it's such a great introduction to Frida and her life if you've never read anything by her. Now, all I knew was that Frida was a Mexican painter and she's a Mexican heritage, and yeah, she's this woman who was painting, and that's basically all I knew. And I really think that this book added so much to my knowledge bank on Mexican art as well, and Mexican history a bit, that I was really gladly surprised. So, sorry, my throat is a bit rusty. So, I learned so many facts that I would have never known. One of them that really struck me a lot was that Frida is half German. The book actually starts with her father immigrating from Germany to Mexico and then marrying a Mexican woman and then having kids with her, and Frida would be one of them. But also something that I learned was that Frida was a very physically fragile and sensible person very early on in her life. She had this one accident that left her leg forever wounded, but then she had this second accident, which was a coalition between a tram and a bus, and that one sent her to the hospital for 9 months. Her body was completely destroyed, and so she started to paint from that moment on, especially spending so much time at a hospital. That's when finally she started really painting, and that accident would affect her life forever. She would never be able to carry children, and she would have countless abortions that were also going to be represented on many of her art pieces. Of course, the book also opens the window into her relationship and marriage with the other renowned Mexican artist, Diego Rivera. I loved how that relationship was portrayed as in basically a how would you say that? Let me find a good word for that. Well, okay, the marriage lane of two artists, more than just two humans marrying each other. They loved each other for sure, but they also were such an inspiration for one another, and when it came to their art. It also speaks about them, of course, moving around to the United States, San Francisco, where Diego was hired to design all these murals, and Frida being in this situation where she was completely torn about her Mexico that she loves so much, and being with her husband that she also loves and she always thought that she had a duty towards him. But throughout this entire thing, one thing that really stayed with me is her such strong identification with her Mexican heritage. It's a fact very much known that Frida would always be wearing her Mexican dresses, and always being like her hair was always theatrically made and done with flowers and really authentic Mexican silver jewelry, and she would always go out like that. I mean, we're speaking about the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, even the 50s, where that's such a statement to be dressed like that all the time outside and wearing your Mexicanity with such a pride, and there was such an important element of wearing it as an actual statement in clothing and jewelry and physical identity as well. And that also translated a lot into her art. We also go through her divorce and then remarriage, and how that period again left her completely destroyed, and how that again translated into her art. But overall, we see this character growing and the artist growing with it. And one thing that it really made me think a lot was that what if she never been through all these accidents, these countless abortions, these separations, the death of her mother, then her husband would cheat on her with her sister. All of those things would really leave her very, very fragile and sensitive, but then it completely translates into these beautiful pieces. There are so many beautiful pieces she wrote, and she painted, and one of my favorite is this one. It's called The Two Fridas, and it's a union between, I mean, this is Mexican Frida, where this is her European side, which is German Frida, and that's her Mexican side. And the Mexican Frida has a completely heartbroken heart, as you can see it, completely red, and both hearts are connected from both Fridas, and the European Frida is holding on to her and telling her, like, you can rely on me because I am here. And I think that that's a wonderful portrayal of identity, and maybe even more people who have they are from mixed marriage or have double ethnicity or origins would really maybe relate with that in times of hardships, when one side of you that you maybe identify more as is completely destroyed, you can always have this other side of you that will, you know, support you somehow. I thought that was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I mean, the pieces of art are just something else. I love that so much. I love them. This is her piece of art about her abortion. She also spoke about many topics that were not that much spoken about, and there was a Mexican revolution going on, taking down a dictatorship and finally putting back Mexico that is proud of its Mexicanity and not influenced so much by European powers. So people would be much more proud to be Mexican. There was an entire rebirth of indigenous traditions, and Frida was such a supporter of all the indigenous cultures in Mexico. She would always go to these indigenous women. You can find them so much in her work and art and paintings. And also, of course, it goes all the way all the way to her death in 1956 or 54. We're gonna check that just to be sure. I think it was 1954. She died again because of body complications. At some point she was having so many surgeries. Her body never recovered from that accident she had when she was 14. She was also a communist along with her husband, and part of the Communist Party in Mexico. And few days before she dies, she could be seen in one of these communist manifestations protesting on her wheelchair. So it was the story of a woman that is so authentic, so proud of her origin, such a statement on her life that could completely wear herself completely, entirely, fully, in all settings. She was always dressed as a Mexican with her Mexican clothes and her Mexican jewelry, and just unapologetically her, and I love that. But it's also the life of a woman who was so physically wounded that she started completely existing outside of her body and into her paintings and her art. And I would highly recommend that if you also want to learn more about that face that we see everywhere just as an art statement, but we don't really know much about. I would highly recommend this one. You would really enjoy it, and you would learn a lot about Mexico and Mexican history as well, along with learning about Frida's life. So yeah guys, that's probably the most random topic I would that you would find on my channel, but I really wanted to make this video to maybe inspire you to always look more into things that we see so much. I just think that also learning about people is one of my favorite things, and there we go. Now I know more about Frida, and maybe I will read more of her books later on. So let me know what non-fiction you've picked in November. I mean, we're already way into December, but I mean, time is a constraint, isn't it? And yeah, let me know if you have anything to say or to add to about Frida, and do not forget to follow me on Instagram if you haven't, if you don't follow me yet, and to watch my previous video, which is a non-fiction recommendation. And I will see you guys when I see you next. Cheers!